I could not imagine life without music, and I could not imagine life without arts in general. There was one of the memories which still lingers and which still comes back, and that is listening to a recording on an old shellac contained the double concerto by Brahms. It was with Pablo Casals and Jacques Thibault and Alfred Cortot conducting, and I loved listening to this old recording. And you know, when you put those old recordings on, there was quite some background noise. It was quite some, every time it turned it made kind of. Nowadays, when I go to a concert or when I listen to a modern record, I just miss this. I also remember my first concerts I went to, and I was very, very lucky because when I was young, all the great legends of the 20th century were still alive, and I heard so many pianist legends. I heard Horowitz, I heard Arau, I heard Wilhelm Kempff still, I heard Sviatoslav Richter, and this was a great blessing. Now I feel very old to have heard them all, but when I was very young, this was just a unique opportunity, and I was going to all those concerts. Fascinated, to be honest, and to be a bit unfair. One of my very, very, very favorite composers always was Schubert, and still is. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm from Vienna. His piano trios are probably the greatest piano trios ever written, the whole literature. But that's not the only reason. Somehow his music touches me probably more than the music of other great composers. Well, there are a lot of challenges if you're a performing artist. It's not only challenging rehearsing, and it's not only challenging performing. These are like the everyday challenges. It was always very challenging when we had a change in lineup, especially the first time when our first cellist had to leave, and in a very, very, very short time we had to find someone else. But this was a great challenge, and sometimes these challenges make up for a real crisis, and sometimes you get really kind of stronger with these kind of challenges. Greatest influence for my musical life were not pianists. Gerhard Schulz, violinist of the Alban Berg Quartet, or it was Heinrich Schiff, famous cellist, or it was Isaac Stern, who we did a masterclass with in the early 90s. And it was chamber groups like the Trio di Trieste, an Italian trio, which was very refined and beautiful players and very sensitive musicians. And composers, we worked with a lot of contemporary composers, and we got particularly close to German composer Jörg Wittmann. All the great composers of the past, of course. I couldn't imagine life without Beethoven, Schumann, Brahms, Schubert, and Mozart. Bach, of course, yeah. So even I couldn't imagine a life without Debussy or Ravel, or some of the other great composers of the 20th century, Bartók, Stravinsky. I mean, it's not necessarily only composers who wrote for chamber music or for piano trio. Sadly, Bartók wrote hardly anything for our kind of group. I think it could be very rewarding, since you have suddenly so much more time than usually to listen to whole cycles, for example. It is very important that you find your own approach, your own contact with the score and with the music you're playing. Former readings of the same music, I think it's very important that you make your own point, that you find your own personality, and that you connect with the music and with the score in a way that you have the feeling you are saying something important to the audience. So concert societies, and if they are so wonderful and caring for the artists as the Concert Society in Alicante, are like what makes our life possible, our life as musicians. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. First time coming some 10 years ago with Clemens Hagen, and we did a duo recital. We had this wonderful dinner after the concert, and suddenly Raphael was asking, are you free? Are you and the trio free in a month's time or 2 months' time? And then he told me the date, and he said there is a very famous pianist who had to cancel, and we have the audience, we have the hall, we have the date, but we are trying to find replacement. And I was thinking, oh, sounds very tempting, and I was phoning my colleagues, and luckily they were free. So this was literally the only time I or my group got booked on the spot by a presenter. I would like to have a little more time when I come back to Alicante to enjoy the seaside, to enjoy even more of the wonderful food. So it would be wonderful to have a little more time, and actually that's the plan. To share good thoughts and positive thinking is something which I think in these days is extremely important. We artists, because we can't wait to share the things we love most with our audiences. Thank you so much. I hope this was somehow enjoyable, and hope to see you next spring. Bye bye.